مرحبا وأهلا وسهلا فيكن بدرس جديد. Hello and welcome to a new lesson in Levantine Lebanese spoken Arabic. This lesson is all about work, الشغل. You will be able to ask and answer questions at A1 level such as what do you do for a living, where do you work, how many hours do you work, what time do you go to work or come back from work, and you will learn about the different parts of the day as well. First, listen to the conversation between two people, a female and a male, in Lebanese Arabic. If possible, pause the video and try to repeat the sentences to practice your speech. شوف واسمع وعيد. شوفي واسمعي وعيدي. مرحبا، كيفك؟ اسمي ياسمين. أهلا ياسمين، أنا منيح. اسمي سامي، وإنت كيفك؟ منيحة، تشرفنا. شو بتشتغل؟ أنا دكتور. وإنت شو بتشتغلي؟ أنا كمان دكتورة. وين بتشتغل؟ أنا بشتغل بمستشفى. وإنت وين تشتغلي؟ بشتغل بعيادة. كم ساعة تشتغل؟ بشتغل 9 ساعات. وإنت كم ساعة تشتغلي؟ بشتغل 8 ساعات بس. أي ساعة بتروح عالشغل؟ بروح عالشغل الساعة 7 الصبح. وإنت أي ساعة بتروحي عالشغل؟ بروح عالشغل الساعة 8 الصبح. أي ساعة بترجع من الشغل؟ برجع من الشغل الساعة 4 بعد الظهر. وإنت أي ساعة بترجعي من الشغل؟ وأنا كمان برجع من الشغل الساعة 4 بعد الظهر. كيف بتروح عالشغل؟ بروح عالشغل بالسيارة. وإنت كيف بتروحي عالشغل؟ بتروحي بالسيارة؟ لا، ما بروح عالشغل بالسيارة، بروح عالشغل بالترين. تدريب على الاستماع. Listening practice. Listen carefully and decide if what was said was number 1, 2 or 3. 1 2 أو 3. بتروحي عالشغل بالسيارة؟ بتروحي عالشغل بالسيارة؟ جواب الصحيح, the right answer is 1. بتروحي عالشغل بالسيارة. That means, do you go to work by car? Notice that we're addressing a female because of the ya at the end of the verb or the a sound. انت بتروحي, you go, for a female. Number 2, بتروح عالشغل بالسيارة. That is if we were addressing a male. And number 3 is obviously wrong because it's بتروحي with a kha, but we intend to say بتروحي with a ha, and that is the verb to go in Lebanese with a ha. Not بتروحي with a ha, or not بتروحي with a kha, it's the ha. To correctly pronounce the ha, Imagine that it's a very cold day and you've got glass right in front of your face and you want to blow on the glass to create some vapor. Try to say ha, and that way you'll correctly pronounce the ha. Ha. The second listening question. بروح عالشغل كل يوم. بروح عالشغل كل يوم. What is the right answer? 1 2 أو 3. جواب الصحيح هو 3. 3. 1 is wrong because it's بتروحي. That would be you go to work every day addressing a female. انت بتروحي عالشغل كل يوم with the A sound at the end of the verb. Number 2 would be wrong because it's انت بتروح, you go. انت بتروح عالشغل كل يوم. Number 3 is the right one. بروح, I go. بروح عالشغل كل يوم. And that was what the speaker stated. Tip: in the second person, you will notice the ta at the beginning of the verb stem in the present. So, انت بتروح, انت بتروحي, انتو بتروحوا. Notice the ta at the beginning, and that signifies the second person. أنا بروح, so that's different. Listen to each sentence and choose the right answer from column A or B. أنا بشتغل دكتورة. أنا بشتغل دكتورة. Is it A or B? The right answer is A. Tip: in Lebanese, feminine nouns and adjectives always end with a or a sounds. For example, أنا دكتور in the masculine, or أنا حكيم. حكيم is another synonym for doctor. In the feminine, أنا دكتورة with an a sound, or أنا حكيمة with an a sound. Other examples: أنا مهندس, I'm an engineer. أنا مهندسة with an a sound in the feminine. رقم 2 number 2. أنا بشتغل بمستشفى. أنا بشتغل بمستشفى. And the right answer is B. Hospital is مستشفى in Lebanese. Remember to use the correct preposition. B, that means in. For example, أنا بالبيت, I'm in the home or the house. That means I'm at home. أنا بشتغل بالمستشفى, that is, I work in the hospital. Number A wouldn't have been correct because it is عيادة or clinic, and the speaker stated that he or she works in the hospital. رقم 3. كم ساعة بتشتغل بالمستشفى؟ بشتغل 9 ساعات. Repeat. كم ساعة بتشتغل بالمستشفى؟ بشتغل 9 ساعات. Is it A or B? The right answer is B. The question was, how many hours do you work in the hospital? And the reply was, I work 9 hours. بشتغل 9 ساعات. Another set of questions. رقم 1. أي ساعة بتروح عالشغل؟ بروح عالشغل الساعة 7 الصبح. Repeat. أي ساعة بتروح عالشغل؟ بروح عالشغل الساعة 7 الصبح. Was it A or B? The right answer is B. So the question was, what time do you go to work? And the reply was, I go to work at 7 o'clock in the morning. رقم 2. أي ساعة ترجعي من الشغل؟ برجع من الشغل الساعة 8 المساء. Repeat. أي ساعة بترجعي من الشغل؟ برجع من الشغل الساعة 8 المساء. Is it A or B? The right answer is A. So the question was, what time do you, addressing a female, come back from work? انت بترجعي. Hence أي ساعة بترجعي من الشغل. And the reply was, برجع من الشغل الساعة 8 المساء. So I come back from work at 8 o'clock in the evening. 8 المساء. So that would be A. رقم 3. كيف بتروح على الشغل؟ بتروح على الشغل بالسيارة؟ لا، ما بروح على الشغل بالسيارة. بروح على الشغل بالترين. Repeat. كيف بتروح على الشغل؟ بتروح على الشغل بالسيارة؟ لا، ما بروح على الشغل بالسيارة. بروح على الشغل بالترين. Is it A or B? The right answer is A. So the question was, how do you go to work? Do you go to work by car? And the reply was, no, I don't go to work by car. I go to work by train. لا، ما بروح على الشغل بالسيارة. بروح على الشغل بالترين. So again, pay attention to the preposition. When speaking about with, so I go to work by, or when we have to say with, we use the b preposition. So for example, بروح على الشغل بالسيارة. بروح على الشغل بالترين. By car, by train. Or if we want to say, I write with a pen, with. So أنا بكتب بالقلم. Or I brush my hair with a comb. مشط شعري بالمشط. So we have to use the b for sentences that include by or with. That was just a warm-up to get you used to the sounds of the language and to the general conversation about work in Lebanese. Now the next step is that we're going to go over some grammar points and some explanation together before we go through other recap questions. We'll just do a quick revision of the personal pronouns in Lebanese. أنا, نحن. In the first person, أنا, نحن. Second person, أنت, أنت, أنتو. Notice that it starts with in for the three of them, but the ending changes. So أنت for a male, أنت for a female, and أنتو for the plural. That is two people or more. In the third person, هو, هي, هن. Notice they all start with a ha. هو, هي, هن. هو is like he, and هي is she, and هن is they. أنا, نحن, أنت, أنت, أنتو, هو, هي, هن. One tip is that to say I am a doctor or I am happy, we don't have verb to be in Arabic, so we literally don't say am, we say I doctor or I happy. For example, أنا doctora. أنا مبسوطة. I'm a doctor, I'm happy. So I literally just use the pronoun and then the word after. So the pronoun in itself contains, or as if it contains, verb to be. Now we'll be discussing the conjugation of verb to work, which is اشتغل. اشتغل. We don't really pronounce the e, اشتغل, at the beginning in Lebanese. It's kind of silenced. اشتغل. And it's verb form number 8. So if you look it up in the dictionary, it should come up under اشتغل with the alif actually, or hamzat al-wasl at the beginning, but we don't pronounce it in Lebanese. So I've made this chart just to break it down and make it easy. So this conjugation is for the simple present with the b prefix at the beginning. So you will notice that the main part, which is the middle part, which is اشتغل, kind of floats throughout the diagram. The b is added as a prefix at the beginning, and then there are certain markers. For example, the ta in brown, it signifies the second person mainly, like تشتغل, تشتغلي, تشتغلوا. And also remember that هي also starts with the ta, هي تشتغل, because it's similar to أنت. And the third person will take the ya at the beginning, هو and هن. Firstly, أنا. So أنا, the stem is اشتغل. So this is the stem, the present tense stem. But in the simple present, which we use for routine things, and like to state facts, things that we do every day, etc., we're going to use the b prefix. So أنا بشتغل. So b plus اشتغل, it's sounded as بشتغل. نحن takes a different prefix to the ba. That's the only exception for this pronoun, is the m. Okay, and then plus the stem نشتغل. So نحن نشتغل, and then we have to add the m at the beginning. So everyone, all the pronouns, each of them takes a b prefix apart from نحن, apart from pronoun we. So that's really important to remember. So نحن نشتغل. So an easy tip to remember, نحن starts with noon or an. Similarly, the conjugation in the present tense will always start with noon or the n letter. So نحن نشتغل. And we have to add the simple present prefix marker, which is the m. Sometimes you would hear natives exchanging the m prefix for a b prefix, like بنشتغل, بنشتغل instead of بنشتغل. So it kind of depends on the person, not a big deal, but just heads up for you to know that you can sometimes hear both. But the proper conjugation is with the m prefix, followed by the present tense stem, which always starts with the noon or the n. So نحن نشتغل, نحن بنشتغل. نحن نكتب, we write, نحن بنكتب in the simple present. نحن نشرب, نشرب, we drink. نحن بنشرب, بنشرب. So that's in the simple present, and so on. And don't forget that for the second person, the stem will start with the t. So أنت, the stem is تشتغل. But over here we're using the simple present, so we have to add the b prefix before. So أنت بتشتغل, تشتغل. أنت تشتغلي. So أنت تشتغلي, we add the b in the simple present, بتشتغلي. In the plural, تشتغلوا. So بتشتغلوا. So we start the stem with the t for the second person. And just a tip to remember it, remember that أنت has the t at the end, and إنت and the إنتو you will hear the t at the end. It's just the vowel that basically changes. So that's gonna be your clue or tip that the conjugation for the stem will start with the t as well. For the third person, so هو بيشتغل. So the stem is يشتغل. We add the b before that. So بيشتغل. Now هي is exactly the same as انت. So انت بتشتغل وهي بتشتغل. So same thing, same conjugation. Now you might wonder, how would I know is it انت or هي? Obviously from the conversation it's going to be very obvious, because if he's speaking to you, he will be like انت. But if he's speaking about someone else, which is a female, or who's a female, you're going to know, because that's going to be obvious from the conversation or the context. So انت and he are the same. Now for هن, they, هن ب prefix, then يشتغلوا, بيشتغلوا. So it ends with the sound O, بيشتغلوا. Just as, if you've noticed, انتوا تشتغلوا. So the plural will end with the O sound. So notice, انتوا تشتغلوا, هن بيشتغلوا. What's the difference is that for the second person, the stem will start with the ta. So انت تشتغل, تشتغل starts with the ta. انت بتشتغلي starts with the ta. انتوا بتشتغلوا. Third person, هو and هن, so he and they, start with ya. So هو بيشتغل, هن بيشتغلوا, يشتغلوا. So apart from هي, which I've already mentioned, that is exactly the same as انت. So انت بتشتغل, هي بتشتغل. So same. Now we're going to go through the text in detail to explain everything. Firstly, شو بتشتغل? So شو is a question tool that means what. So anytime you want to ask what, basically you use شو. بتشتغل, so شو بتشتغل, that basically means what do you work, literally, or what do you work as. So that translates to what do you do for a living. انت تشتغل, so you work in the simple present, because it's something that you're referring to as something that is done routinely. So you have to use the b prefix in Lebanese. So remember to use the b prefix, and remember to use the ta. So تشتغل at the beginning of the stem in the present tense, because it's for the second person. So شو بتشتغل. Do not say شو انت تشتغل. Just say شو بتشتغل. The verb is already conjugated to tell us the pronoun. Okay, and of course the conversation between two people, so it will be very clear if it's انت or هي, because if you're asking شو بتشتغل, you're addressing a person directly, and he's going to be in front of you. It's going to be a male, so that's going to be really obvious. شو بتشتغل, that means what do you, a male, work as. So again, remember that after question tools, do not use the pronoun. Do not say شو انت تشتغل. Do not say شو انت بتعملي, شو انت بتاكلي. Just say شو بتشتغل, شو بتعمل, شو بتعملي, شو بتاكل, شو بتاكلي, etc. So remember, do not use the pronoun straight after the question tool in Lebanese. So simply شو تشتغل. The reply to the question would be I am. So أنا. Remember we said there's no verb to be, so literally I followed by the profession. أنا دكتور. You can also say حكيم. حكيم is basically the same thing. So دكتور and حكيم, they're synonyms. أنا دكتور, or we can say أنا حكيم. أنا مهندس. I'm an engineer. أنا أستاذ. I'm a teacher. أنا موظف. I'm an employee. أنا مدير. I'm a manager, etc. To ask the same question to a female, we have to use the A sound at the end. So شو بتشتغل was for a male. For a female, شو بتشتغلي. شو بتشتغلي. So what do you work as, or what do you do for a living? The reply would be أنا دكتورة. So أنا دكتور for a male. أنا دكتورة. So we add the A sound. أنا حكيم for a male. For the female, أنا حكيمة. So always it's A or A for the feminine endings, mostly in Lebanese. Now you might wonder, how would you know if it's an A or A ending for the word when it's changed to the feminine? There's no rule written in black and white, because originally that's a phenomena called imala. It's been changed from modern standard or classical Arabic, and in Lebanese it got the A sound. So in standard Arabic it was the A sound always, but in Lebanese we have that additional sound or vowel at the end, which is the A, in addition to the A. So after certain letters, you will find that it's going to be most commonly A, and after certain other letters, it's going to be most commonly the A sound. For example, doctora, faara, a mouse, doctora, faara, حكيمة, for example, a crime, جريمة. So with the ma, it's going to be most likely A. طيارة, a plane. So doctora, faara, țayyaara. So most likely with the R, with the ra, it's going to be an A ending, but with the mim, the M, it's going to be an A sound. I'm going to try to leave it as a note again in the description box for you to just have a look at. وين بتشتغل? When is a question tool that means where. So very similar to English in that it starts with the W. So when instead of the where. So when. وين بتشتغل? Where do you work? Remember, don't say when أنت تشتغل, just say when تشتغل. To ask the same for a female, remember to add the A sound. وين تشتغلي? وين تشتغلي? The reply is بشتغل. So أنا بشتغل, you can say, or simply بشتغل, because the verb is already conjugated to tell us the pronoun. So you can just say بشتغل. بمستشفى, in a hospital. So مستشفى, hospital, or a hospital. B means in. So this be here is actually a preposition, and it means in. So this is different to the be, that is the prefix that you use with the present tense. So just be mindful. So أنا بالبيت, I'm in the home or at home. أنا بالمدرسة, I'm at the school or in the school. So أنا بشتغل بمستشفى, I work in a hospital. Or if you want to say I work in the hospital. أنا بشتغل بالمستشفى with the ألف لام, the definite article. So remember to use the right preposition, which is be. I work in, be. Now to ask how many hours do you work, we have to use كم for how many. So how many, كم. Note that after كم, the noun is singular. So كم ساعة. ساعة means literally an hour, 1 hour. So an hour, and not hours. In English, how many hours? But in Arabic, always after كم, we use a singular noun. كم ساعة تشتغل. Okay. كم كتاب قريت. How many books have you read? But I said كم كتاب. كتاب is a book and not كتب, books, for example. So that's really important to know. كم ساعة تشتغل. And of course, to ask a female how many hours do you work, we're gonna add the A sound. So كم ساعة بتشتغلي. كم ساعة بتشتغلي. And just a note that we also differentiate in Lebanese between how many and how much, just as in English. If you're coming from a Fusha or modern standard background, it's just كم for everything. So there's no differentiation. But in Lebanese, we say كم ساعة, for example, بتشتغل. كم سنتيمتر طولك. So how many centimeters is your height? But if I was just gonna say literally like how much is your height, قد إيه طولك. We're gonna use قد إيه for how much, قد إيه. But if I'm gonna specify like with centimeters or kilograms, so for example, كم كيلو وزنك. So how many kilograms is your weight. Okay, كم كيلو. But if I was gonna say how much is your weight, or how much do you weigh, literally like speaking, قد إيه وزنك. So we use قد إيه. So كم basically how many, and in general قد إيه how much. قد إيه بتحبني. How much do you love me, for example. So we use قد إيه, not كم بتحبني. قد إيه بتحبني. قد إيه بدك. How much would you like, or how much do you want. But if I want to specify, for example, كم كتاب بدك. How many books do you want. I used كم. So just a note. To reply to the question, بشتغل أو أنا بشتغل, same thing, followed by the number and followed by ساعات. So بشتغل 9 ساعات, for example. Just a note, so when we're counting 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So 9. But when I'm counting an object over here, 9 ساعات. I didn't say 9 ساعات. So the a or the vowel at the end is removed and it becomes 9 ساعات or 9 or 9 ساعات. So not 9 ساعات. Another example, بشتغل 3 ساعات instead of 3. So the vowel at the end is removed and we say 3 ساعات. 4 بشتغل 4 ساعات. 5 بشتغل 5 ساعات. 6 بشتغل 6 ساعات. 7 بشتغل 7 ساعات. 8 بشتغل 8 ساعات. Now to ask what time do you go to work, we use the question tool أي, which literally means which. So أي ساعة, so literally at which or what hour, because ساعة means hour. So أي ساعة بتروح, because it's the conjugation for أنت. أنت بتروح. And because it's something that the person does routinely, so we have to use the b prefix for the simple present. So أي ساعة بتروح. Now we want to say to work, we have to use the preposition على, which is commonly contracted to ع. So على or عالشغل. So أي ساعة بتروح على الشغل, or we can say أي ساعة بتروح عالشغل. Both are correct. So that's another important preposition to learn, and it means to. So for example, أي ساعة بتروح على المدرسة or على المدرسة. What time do you go to school? أنا بروح على المطعم كل يوم أحد. I go to the restaurant every Sunday. So ع or على means to. To ask the same thing for a female, remember to add the A sound at the end. أي ساعة بتروحي بتروحي عالشغل. What time do you go to work? أي ساعة بتروحي عالشغل. Or we can say على. Remember that ع is contracted from على. The answer could be something like بروح, or you can say أنا بروح. بروح عالشغل or بروح على الشغل الساعة 7. So at 7 o'clock. Remember to say الساعة, not ساعة. So الساعة 7. That means 7 o'clock. الساعة 6 o'clock. الساعة 5 o'clock. So you have to say الساعة followed by the number. And we use cardinal numbers to tell the time in spoken Lebanese. We do not use ordinal numbers like in Fusha or classical or modern standard Arabic. Just keep that in mind if you're coming from a Fusha background. And of course you can add AM or PM, morning or evening, by saying at the end, for example, بروح عالشغل الساعة 7 الصبح. That is in the morning. الصبح means in the morning or morning time. Note that من means from. So we want to say أي ساعة بترجع من. So that's another preposition to be mindful of. أنا من لبنان. I am from Lebanon. أنا من ألمانيا. I'm from Germany. So أي ساعة بترجع من الشغل. من الشغل. So what time do you get back from work? Now we want to ask, what time do you get back or come back from work? أي ساعة بترجع من الشغل. أي ساعة بترجع. So أنت ترجع. This is the stem. We have to use the b prefix before the stem because we have to use the simple present. So أي ساعة بترجع من الشغل. To ask a female, of course, we're going to say أي ساعة بترجعي. We're going to add the A sound. أي ساعة بترجعي من الشغل. If we want to say in the afternoon, برجع من الشغل الساعة 4 بعد الظهر. الظهر means noon time. بعد الظهر, that means in the afternoon. So بعد means after. الظهر is noon. So بعد الظهر, it's like annexed الظهر to بعد to form like a compound word sort of. So afternoon, بعد الظهر. And of course we want to learn parts of the day. So الصبح, morning, الصبح. Now we've already said الظهر means noon, الظهر. We have a specific period in Arabic that we refer to as قبل الظهر. قبل الظهر. That means the period just before noon. It's not morning, but it's before noon. So قبل الظهر. And of course we have the afternoon. بعد الظهر. بعد الظهر. المساء means evening. مساء is evening, so المساء evening. بالليل means night or night time. الصبح قبل الظهر. الظهر بعد الظهر. المساء بالليل. Note that ليل means night. ليل on its own. But we add the b before ليل to mean in the night or in night. Hence in night time. So بالليل, it becomes one word. بالليل, that means at night or at night time. And now, time for you to test your knowledge. Please arrange parts of the day in the correct order from morning to evening. Obviously, بالليل has been done for you at the end, but the rest needs to be arranged. The right sequence should be الصبح, morning, قبل الظهر, before noon, الظهر, noon, بعد الظهر, the afternoon, المساء, evening, and finally بالليل. Now we want to ask, how do you go to work? How? So we're going to use كيف. كيف. Remember, how are you? كيفك or كيف حالك. So كيفك is contracted from كيف حالك. حال means condition or situation. So you're basically asking the person, how's your situation or how's your condition? Are you okay? Kind of. كيف حالك for a female, and that was contracted to كيفك. So كيف حالك, كيفك, كيف حالك, كيفك. Okay, so going back to the main point, كيف, how. So كيف بتروح على الشغل if we're asking a male, or كيف بتروح على الشغل if we're asking a female. Remember to add the a sound. كيف بتروحي على الشغل or كيف بتروحي على الشغل. The answer could be something like بروح على الشغل بالترين, by train. بروح على الشغل بالسيارة, by car. بروح على الشغل بالباص, by bus. So here the b means by. So that's another usage for the b. So it's another preposition. So b can mean in or at. So أنا بالبيت. And at the same time, it's the same preposition is used again to say I go to work by. So to mean by. So بروح على الشغل بالترين, بالسيارة, بالباص. Now to reply saying that you go to work on foot, you would say بروح على الشغل مشي, مشي. So we use the gerund from verb to walk, and that is walking, مشي. أنا بمشي كل يوم الصبح. I walk every day in the morning. أنا بمشي. That's the verb. But مشي is the noun or the gerund. So أنا بروح على الشغل مشي. In this slide, we're going to learn how to negate. So the question says بتروح على الشغل مشي. Do you go to work on foot or literally walking? The answer would be لا. لا means no or لا. Sometimes we say لا, sometimes we say لا. So same thing. لا أو لا ما بروح. So we have to put ما before the verb. ما is basically like don't. So it negates verbs in spoken. ما بروح على الشغل مشي. So بروح على الشغل مشي, we simply say ما بروح على الشغل مشي. We use ما. So لا or لا means no, and we use ما to say don't. So that is to negate the verb. So ما بروح على الشغل مشي. And just a note, so in English you would say do. Do you go to work on foot? If you're coming from a Fusha background, you would say هل. But in spoken Lebanese, you're not using any tool or question tool before the verb. You simply change the sentence by changing your tone of voice, and you add a question mark at the end. So you have a question. بتروح على الشغل مشي? Sometimes we add the word she at the end. بتروح على الشغل مشي she? Or for example, بتحب البوزة شي? So do you like ice cream? بتحب البوزة, you like ice cream. I just changed the tone of my voice. بتحب البوزة شي? Do you like ice cream? So we can add she at the end. So it's the same thing. بتحب البوزة? بتحب البوزة شي? So same. Time for you to test your knowledge. I'm gonna read out the ones in Arabic on the right side of the screen, and you're gonna have to match them with the English translations on the left side. أي ساعة ترجع من الشغل؟ شو بتشتغل؟ كيف بتروحي على الشغل؟ وين بتشتغلي؟ The answers: أي ساعة بترجع من الشغل? What time do you get back or come back from work? Obviously we're addressing a male. أي ساعة بترجع, that is أنت بترجع. شو بتشتغل? What do you do for a living or what do you work as? أنت بتشتغل, so we're addressing a male. كيف بتروحي على الشغل? How do you go to work? But we're addressing a female. بتروحي because we have the a sound. أنت بتروحي. وين تشتغلي? So where do you work? Obviously we're addressing a female because of the a sound at the end. وين تشتغلي? Let's review all the grammar so far. So شو is a question tool to ask what. شو بتشتغل for a male. When asking a female, remember to add the a sound. شو بتشتغلي? Remember that there's no verb to be. So أنا دكتور or أنا حكيم. In the feminine, there's always an a or a sound. So أنا دكتورة, أنا حكيمة. To ask where, we're going to use when. وين بتشتغل? وين تشتغلي? For the feminine. To reply, saying I work in, بشتغل ب. Remember that in is ب in Lebanese. So بشتغل بمستشفى. بشتغل بمستشفى. To ask how many hours do you work, we have to use كم for how many. So كم ساعة. Note that the noun after كم is always singular. So we say ساعة and not ساعات. To ask a female كم ساعة بتشتغلي. So obviously we added the a sound. كم ساعة بتشتغلي. Note that we remove the vowel when we're counting. So بشتغل 3 ساعات instead of 3. بشتغل 4 ساعات instead of 4. بشتغل 5 ساعات instead of 5. بشتغل 9 ساعات instead of 9. Now if we want to say بشتغل an hour, 1 hour only, بشتغل ساعة. ساعة is 1 hour or ساعة وحدة. If I want to say 2 hours, بشتغل ساعتين. So that's another topic, how to count. That's going to be a separate video, but just if you're curious. And another note on the side, from 3 to 10, the counted noun is going to be plural. So 9 ساعات. So just as in English, 9 hours. But if we're counting from 11 onwards, so 11 ساعة, 12 ساعة, 13 ساعة, etc. 20 ساعة, 100 ساعة, 100 hour, literally. ساعة is hour. So that's going to be in another video, so promise. But just remember that from 3 to 10, it's a plural noun, and from 11 to 100 is going to be a singular noun. So again over here, تسعة becomes تسع, ثمانية becomes ثمان, عشرة becomes عشر. And we say بشتغل 9 ساعات. So we're using plural just as in English when we're counting from 3 to 10. To ask what time do you go to work, أي ساعة. أي ساعة. أي ساعة بتروح على الشغل for a male. أي ساعة بتروحي على الشغل for female. The reply بروح على الشغل الساعة. So always we say الساعة followed by the number. الساعة 3, الساعة 4, الساعة 5, الساعة 6, الساعة 7. To ask what time do you come back from work, أي ساعة بترجع من الشغل. من الشغل. So we have to use من, from. To ask a female, أي ساعة بترجعي من الشغل. The reply برجع من الشغل, I come back from work, الساعة followed by the number. So الساعة 4, الساعة 5, etc. You can add the time of the day. For example, الساعة 6 الصبح, الساعة 11 قبل الظهر. So that's the period before noon. Or الساعة 12 الظهر. That means 12 literally at noon time. الساعة 4 بعد الظهر. That is 4 in the afternoon. And now conjugation of verb راح, which is verb form 1, and it's a hollow verb. That is, it's got a vowel in the middle, which is the alif. So with this verb form, you notice that the main body parts, like the main stem, روح, is the same throughout for all the pronouns. We're just going to be adding prefixes and suffixes at the end for the conjugation. So we're going to be using the simple present here. So we're going to use the b prefix. So أنا بروح. So b plus روح. أنا بروح. نحن, as we said, takes the m prefix, and we said نحن always the verb will start with noon. So نحن نروح, but we're gonna say من روح. Why is it mi, me, and not m? Simply because m will become me when there are 2 other consonants after. So it's easier to pronounce. Okay, so b becomes b before 2 consonants, and m becomes me before 2 consonants. So that's going to be easier to pronounce. So نحن منروح. Try saying it as روح. It's going to be really difficult without the e vowel. So that's why the e sound is there. Just in case you're wondering. Same thing for the second person. You're going to notice it's b. And for the third person, so the prefix changes from b to b. So انت بتروح. So remember, second person always starts with the ta for the stem. This is like a marker in the present tense. تروح, تروحي, تروحوا. And we're going to add that b. So بتروح, بتروحي, بتروحوا. So feminine takes the a sound for انت. The plural takes the o. بتروحوا. انتوا بتروحوا. Now the third person هو be. Notice there's يروح. بيروح. People can pronounce it quickly as بيروح. Instead of بيروح, it becomes بيروح. هي بتروح. هن same thing. So بيروحوا becomes بيروحوا. بيروحوا. So أنا بروح. نحنا منروح. أنت بتروح. أنت بتروحي، انتوا بتروحوا، هو بيروح، هي بتروح، هن بيروحوا. ميرسي لأنكم شفتوا الفيديو، وما تنسوا تنضموا للفيسبوك جروب وتابعوني على الانستغرام. شكرا، بشوفكن مرة الجاي.